This is the Resilient Advisor Show. My name is Jay Coulter, and joining me today is Chris Versace of Tematica Research. We're going to talk about the election, and we're going to talk about stocks for the rest of the year. Chris, your partner was on last week, Lenore Hawkins, talking about some of the macro themes she sees in Europe, in the United States. Whenever you're on, we get to go deep on individual stock ideas, but I would be remiss with today, November 3rd, being election day here in the United States. Tell us, what's your take?
What's my take? How about what's your question? I say that, Jay, because this could go any way right now. You know, we're early in. We've had a record number of people turn out early to vote, which I think is fantastic. But, you know, it looks as if it's really going to come down to a handful of states, real battleground states, and it could be very close. We could have a nail biter of an election for the presidential race. But remember, too, as important is what happens in the Senate. Do we get the blue wave, or do we have, you know, a president from one party and a Senate from another, in which case not much is going to happen. You know, the next couple of days are going to be interesting, to say the least, especially if we get that contested election.
Yeah, I'm with you. Contested election will result in a lot of volatility. But really, Chris, whoever wins, all there's going to be is more money printing. And that has an impact on the advisor's portfolio.
It does. It's funny you say that, because, you know, coming into this week when we sat down to write the Monday edition of the NASDAQ Daily Markets Note, I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, we have, you know, PMI data coming, ISM data coming. We've got the election. We've got, you know, the Fed and their latest FOMC meeting, you know, middle of the week. Brexit talks are still going on. I cannot remember. And I forgot, 1,400 companies reporting thereabouts. I cannot remember, Jay, a time where so much has been packed into 1 week.
Yes, that is for sure. So let's start talking themes here for the rest of the year. Regardless of who wins the election, there are still strong themes out there. You wanted to start with the Thanksgiving theme.
Well, I do. But I've gotten this question quite a bit. And, you know, people are asking, well, how would you position or reposition your portfolio as a result of the election? And my response has been kind of nonplussed, in which I say this. I go, if you've positioned your portfolio correctly thus far, i.e. from our perspective, thematically, you really don't have a lot to worry about. You know, who comes into the office and who comes into the Senate, they will obviously, there'll be some policy changes. Those could accelerate some of the tailwinds associated with our themes. They may, you know, slow the wind slightly. But remember, Jay, when we talk about thematics, we're talking about pronounced structural changes. So, for example, if someone comes into office, are we going to stop all of a sudden streaming video? No. Are we going to stop buying online? No. Are we going to stop buying online with pandemic case counts rising? Certainly not. And so on. So when we look at our themes, you know, these structural playouts, you know, will be with us for some time. So I'm very comfortable in what we're doing, whether it's with the thematic leaders or any of the indices that we've developed.
Excellent. So as we roll here into the fall, one of the things to take a look at is Thanksgiving right around the corner. Once we get past this election nonsense, what should investment advisors be looking at or considering as it relates to individual stock ideas?
Well, I think you got to consider how Thanksgiving is going to be different this year than last year. You know, we are seeing renewed restrictions in Europe. You know, we're seeing, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, rising case counts and unfortunately deaths associated with the pandemic here in the US. You know, restrictions are getting a little tougher, for example, in the state of New York. You know, I think what we're going to see, Jay, is a pronounced, you know, like it or lump it, shelter in place. I don't think that as many people will be getting together, particularly if you have to cross, you know, different states. Historically, Thanksgiving has been a huge travel holiday, perhaps the worst for people in the United States. So, you know, what do I think? I think more people will be eating at home. And I think that's going to be a boon for companies like, you know, Kroger, that has a wide variety of grocery chains around the country. Company's got a great dividend as well. I see it's kind of, fallen off there on the chart recently. But if you look at the retail sales numbers, grocery has continued to be strong. You look at the results from Coca-Cola, where they talked about, yes, as the country's reopened a little bit, we've seen a rebound in our away from home business. But with the renewed lockdowns, they too are expecting a return to eating at home. So I continue to think that grocery is going to be great. The other sleeper play that I have for Thanksgiving, Jay, is one of my favorite companies, Dividend Dynamo McCormick's. You cannot spell Thanksgiving, Christmas, or several other, holidays that will be upon us that are primarily feasting days. Let's call it what they are. And you have to have McCormick's. And here's the thing, Jay. You ask most people what they have in their cabinets, they will have some product that McCormick makes, whether it's extracts, seasonings, or even some of the more exotic mixes, because everybody wants their food to taste good. So McCormick's to me is just a staple to own. And I think they've been increasing their dividend now for in excess of 25 years. And I think that the cash flow they're able to squeeze out with the acquisitions that they've made over the last year or two will allow them to continue to do that. So McCormick's is always a winner.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the McCormick's brand. I don't do any cooking, but I'm curious as it relates to their sales. Are they seasonal for them? No pun intended.
That's a good one, Jay. So it's fair to say that there are seasonally stronger periods of time, although they've done a very good job of diversifying their portfolio. So traditionally, what you think of as from, not so much Halloween, but Thanksgiving on, really until Easter, historically has been the strong time of the year for the McCormick's brand. But in the last several years, they've made some acquisitions, like I've mentioned. So they've acquired French's Mustard, great summertime condiment. They also have the Montreal seasonings, which are great when you're throwing stuff on the grill. So they have done a better job. But yes, there is some pronounced seasonality to the business.
So then right after Thanksgiving, we're rolling into Christmas. Christmas shopping's probably already started. Christmas decorations are starting to go up, unfortunately.
Have you seen the news for Black Friday deals already? Whether it's, Target, Best Buy, and some others. And I can tell you too, that even as I was doing some last minute Halloween shopping, candy to give out, I was already seeing Christmas candy.
I know. Well, they got to get after it early this year, especially if folks might be locked down. You got to start selling. You
do. But I just think we are going to see so much more buying online than we have in any year. And you can take a look at forecasts from the National Retail Federation and others. They are like-minded to what I'm saying.
So let's put that into a portfolio for advisors. So what are some stock ideas that could be considered for a portfolio if you are a buyer of this theme?
Well, if I would say, obviously, there's going to be Amazon, of course, but I think you got to look at the other players because they've done such a good job in really expanding their online presence, not just for regular products, but also grocery too. That's going to be your Walmart. That's going to be your Target, for example. You can even take a look at companies like Costco that I just continue to love, and it has a very differentiated business model based on membership, which is very powerful. I think those are the great ones to play. And remember, too, that Walmart, people forget this, Walmart is the largest grocer in the U.S., which means that, you can buy it ahead of Thanksgiving, for Thanksgiving, and just hold it through the end of the year, where I think that the other aspect of the business will really go into overdrive for them.
Yeah. Yep. And so we've talked about Walmart a lot this year. It'd be interesting if I had a professional editor to go back and pull out all those clips, because I think you've been very, very consistent on this Walmart and Amazon theme, even pre-pandemic. Is that a fair recollection?
I think that's I think that's a fair assessment. I think what happens, Jay, is a lot of people get caught up in who's going to win, right? Number one, and okay, fine, yeah, we all want the winner, but I would much rather have across a portfolio of, call it 20, 40 stocks, there's enough room in there for number one and number two. Go for Amazon, go for Walmart. This way, no matter who gains a little bit of share from the other, you're going to win. And odds are together, they will take share from other people or other companies. Sorry.
And where does Target play in that, in your mind?
You know what? Target, if you look over the summer and even as a result of the pandemic, they have leaned way into their digital shopping business. If you remember when they reported their June quarter, their same store sales were positive all because of their online business. So they have done a very good job. I would put them as number 3, largely because the grocery business just isn't as big as it is as a Walmart. And one of the secrets to Walmart, Costco too, because of the expanded fresh produce that they have, is people keep coming back and they keep loading up and leaving.
Yeah. So where I live in Atlanta, we've got one of these big Walmarts, not one of the super centers, but they have grocery in there. Not always the best produce, but instead of tracking all the way across town to Costco, because it's geographically friendly, we'll go and we'll bulk buy there. But my wife really prefers Target, but I don't know that we order a lot online from Target. Now, is that just my lens, or are people starting to order online from Target in the same way they order from Amazon and Walmart? Do you know?
Well, since we're going with your analysis of a sample size of 1, I will counter with my sample size of 1,
Perfect.
Which is really since January, I have not stepped foot in, maybe once I stepped foot in a Target. But have I gotten boxes from Target for toiletries and various other things? Absolutely. And I've gotten them faster and, easier in the sense that what I want was available. Some other sites, maybe not the case. So Target has been great in my opinion.
Excellent. You know what? Since those are 2 sample sizes, I'm going to try to order something from Target this week.
Do it.
There we go. All right. Hey, let's talk.
Do it on, and do it on the app, the mobile app.
Is it cheaper?
No, I just want to know what you think of the experience.
Okay. Done.
Oh, hey, by the way, I'll tell you something funny too. While we're talking about these different names, I ordered something for the kitchen, right? And I ordered it from Amazon on Prime Day. And it showed up sooner than I thought. But here's the funny thing. It was a Walmart.com box. What do you make of that?
There's a shortage of corrugated boxes.
No, I don't think so, because the packing was from Walmart. So I thought it was pretty fascinating that this company might be taking orders through Amazon, fulfilling through another one. That's pretty wild when you think about it.
Yeah. Speaking of mobile apps,
Yes,
5G,
sir.
5G. Walk us through your thoughts on the players there for financial advisors that want to start allocating to that space to capitalize on this theme, not in the short term, but for an investment cycle. What do you like?
So there's a couple ways to play it. There's the infrastructure side, right? The companies that are actually building the towers, laying the cable that are, that allows for the backhaul for all the stuff that we do. Then there's the in-your-face application that is today the smartphone, but ultimately it will be far greater. Really, as we start to see with 5G, the true industrial internet, or IoT as people call it. And as I sit back, I try to look for expanding available or addressable markets, right? We want big markets. So whenever there comes a technology inflection like this, are there companies that can see their market size grow phenomenally? And the answer is yes, because with the industrialification of the internet, no matter what you have, if it's in your home, on the factory floor, what have you, it means it needs to be connected. That means you need connective chips. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that when you start thinking about these devices, they can't just be connected to 5G. They have to be backward compatible. What does that mean? They have to be able to work on the 5G network, the 4G network, the 3G network. So they need a lot more chips to connect across more radio frequency bands. So more dollar content or more chip content per device. So when I look at that, I see companies like Skyworks, SWKS going to kill it as 5G rolls out. And they just reported their results last night as we're taping this. And they not only did they crush the numbers, Jay, but they gave an outlook that just destroyed the consensus forecast.
Yeah. So any other names in that space besides Skyworks that you think advisors should at least put eyeballs on as they think through that theme? Two?
I'll give you 3. The second one is Qorvo, QRVO, very similar to Skyworks. The smartphone market is not exactly as diverse as it used to be. A lot of these companies have, different model lines with the manufacturers. Qorvo is another way to go about it. There's also the arms merchant, that as I call it, for the baseband chip, which is of course Qualcomm. They serve just about everybody. So Qualcomm is a great name. Excuse me. And they too will be seeing their addressable market open. And then, The other company that's a little bit of a sleeper company, when we think about these RF chips, particularly from Skyworks and Qorvo, they're made on compound semiconductor substrates. A company that advisors should take a look at there, particularly on the small cap side, is a company called AXT Inc. Their substrates not only go into RF semiconductors, they also go into data center semiconductors too. So that's a two for win. And when you hear companies like Facebook and Twitter talking about having to continue to build out their data center footprint, I think the outlook for that segment is rather bright too.
Awesome. Chris, you've always been so generous with your time coming in, giving thoughts around earnings, different stock ideas, and thematics. And you've been doing this for almost 2 years with us. Tell us a little bit about what's going on at Thematica Research and this digital infrastructure index that you guys have created.
Oh, thank you for asking about that, Jay. So, one of the things that we've strive to do is to take our themes and translate them into indices so they can power exchange traded products, most commonly known as ETFs. And, recently we launched a new one with a new partner. That is the Digital Infrastructure and Connectivity Index, which looks pretty much at what I was just talking about earlier, which is the 2, 3, 4, 5 sides to the digital infrastructure and growing connectivity that takes into account not only 5G, but the build out of gigabit fiber, the continued creation and consumption of content that is just going to continue to drive greater and greater digital infrastructure spending. Doesn't matter what forecast you look at. The fact of the matter is, Jay, we are data junkies from every aspect of our life, whether it's how, again, just to wrap what we've been talking about, how we shop, how we communicate, how we transact, how we bank, all of these different things. And again, these new layers of technologies are going to explode the addressable market. So we just see more data being created, more data being consumed. And we just see a nice virtuous cycle that's going to power this digital infrastructure and connectivity index and that theme by our partners at QuickGrow and Han ETF.
Excellent. For more information on all the great work that Thematica is doing, please visit thematicaresearch.com. That is thematicaresearch.com. Chris, as always, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you, Jay, and I hope your candidate wins.